Ladies and gentlemen, I am recording this video on International Women's Appreciation Day, and the month of March is International Women's Month. I love women. I love women directors, and I'm going to give you my top 10 movies that have been directed by women. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage. Gerald here with you, of course. And this time we are doing another countdown, another ranking, and it's going to be my top 10 movies that have been directed by women. Now, in my cold open, I, in jest, jokingly was talking about how much I love women, but in all honesty, I do. Women rule this world. Some of the most important people in my life, if not most of them, are women. Now, the obvious is my mother, my wife, my sister, my daughter, of course. But when it comes to cinema, when it comes to the movies, I tend to gravitate towards films, and then sometimes I'll be like, man, this is my shit. And then I'll find out after the fact it was directed by a female. There's very few films that have been directed by a woman that I've seen that I have not liked. As I was doing research for this video, that was crazy to me. Almost every movie that I hate or dislike is directed by a dude. Women know what they are doing in general, but they also know what they're doing behind the camera and the director's chair. And as we have gotten further and further along in the 21st century, definitely in the last 20 years or so, the Academy and award season in general is starting to recognize women more and more from a director standpoint. The last 3 years, we've had a woman director nominated, with Jane Campion for Power of the Dog, Justine Triet last year for Anatomy of a Fall, and this year, of course, for Coralie Farja for The Substance, which is quite a feat because not only is she a woman director, which the Oscars don't always do, but it's a body horror film that is unlike anything the Academy has ever nominated, but frankly that they've ever even acted like existed. Now, I do need to say this, with every ranking I do on this channel, this is just my opinion. This is a subjective list based on my personal preference of the films that when I was researching that were directed by women. These are my personal favorites. There were so many that it was so hard to narrow this down to 10. What I decided to do real quick is just list my 11 to 20 for you, my honorable mentions. If I was doing a top 20, they would be these. Here you go. The Novice from 2021, directed by Lauren Hadaway. My Old Ass from just this past year, 2024, directed by Megan Park. Booksmart from 2019, directed by Miss Olivia Wilde. From 2017, You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix and directed by Miss Lynn Ramsey. The Lure. Man, I wish I could talk about this one in depth, but it's an honorable mention. And I cannot pronounce the director's name, but I know she's a woman. I'll just put it on the screen there because I don't want to butcher it. Shiva Baby, starring Rachel Sennett, directed by Emma Seligman. After Sun from 2022, directed by Charlotte Wells. My number one film of 2023, Past Lives, of course, directed by Celine Song. Raw, directed by Julia DeCurino. And finally, a documentary, 13th, which is an eye-popping documentary about our country's racial inequality, and is directed by Ava DuVernay. All right, getting into my top 10 women-directed films. At number 10, directed by Penny Marshall, is A League of Their Own, from 1992. This film stands the test of time. I'm actually surprised it's not a little bit higher on my list. This is one of my personal favorites. It's also one of my favorite Tom Hanks roles.
Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
We get memorable, unbelievable performances from Gina Davis in this movie, as well as Lori Petty, who plays her sister. Madonna, who plays kind of like the team slut, but she's brilliant at it and hilarious in the film. And her BFF in the movie is played by Rosie O'Donnell. And honestly, I don't really like Rosie O'Donnell, but I love her in this movie. She fits the role perfectly. This is one on this list that the rewatchability is through the roof for me on this movie. I am a giant baseball fan to begin with. It's my favorite sport to watch, aside from maybe the NFL. They're kind of tied in terms of spectator sport for me. And when my son, who's 11 now, got into baseball for the first time, he was around 7 or 8 years old. And he was so into it that he was watching YouTube videos of various clips from baseball movies and then clips from actual baseball games too. And he said, Dad, I want to start watching all these baseball movies. And the first one we watched was A League of Their Own. And he watched it on a loop for the next month. He was just so drawn to it, so entertained by it. And that's how I know it stands the test of time. I'm almost 50. He was 8. We both love it. Now, I fear if you're not a horror fan, you might be like, what the hell is this guy's list? There's going to be a lot of horror representation on this list. My number 9 is from Rose Glass. I could have put Love Lies Bleeding on this list, but I'm going to go with Saint Maud, which was her directorial debut. In reference to Love Lies Bleeding, which came out last year and was her sophomore effort, I decided, including my honorable mentions that I gave you a minute ago, to only list one film per director. So if I wasn't doing that, both of Rose Glass's films would most likely be in my top 10, but definitely in my top 20. Saint Maud is a beautiful, hypnotic, psychological, religious horror film. Into the psychosis of this lonely, broken soul, Maud, played absolutely astonishingly brilliant by Morfydd Clark. She is so enamored with the story of Jesus and basically the basis of Christianity. She has such a firm and strong belief in that she actually believes that she's almost like an apostle on earth on the behalf of God, and that she is here to enact his will and to do what he tells her to do. But Rose Glass does a phenomenal job here of blending the surreal with the realistic, and you never really know which one you're seeing because it's blended so flawlessly. There's some images in this film from like a cinematography standpoint. Hopefully I was able to find them and put them on the video here that are so striking, just as still images, but definitely as the motion picture images that we see in this film. There's 2 in particular, and one of them is the last like 10 seconds of the movie. The ending of this film, if you sat through the kind of excruciating journey of Maud for an hour and a half and you get to that last 10 seconds, it to this day, and I saw this movie initially back in 2019, so 6 years later, it is still with me. The last 10 seconds of this movie. It is so haunting. A lot of people may be surprised, but as I said, I'm only mentioning one movie per director on this list. My number 8 is the Coralie Farja representation, and it's not The Substance, which just got a shit ton of nominations at the Oscars. I do love that movie, but because I know everybody is talking about it and has heard of it, I'm going to shout out Coralie's directorial debut, her first film from 2017, which is simply called Revenge. This is basically another surrealistic film, much like the Saint Maud commentary I was giving you, where Coralie sets up a situation where our lead character, Jen, who is portrayed by Mathilde Lutz in the film, a French actress, is having an affair with a married man. And the married man takes her to his secluded home, basically in the middle of the desert where the film is being shot. There are some very hard to watch things in this movie as we get closer and closer to kind of where the plot twist comes in and where the action kicks into gear in the film, is because of some pretty tragic incidents that happened to Jen in the movie. So I will put that little trigger warning on that for you. I don't want to mention specifically because I don't want to give it away, and also I don't want to get a strike by saying certain things on the channel here, but it is hard to watch, and it is a very intense couple of scenes to get us to where we need to be for the rest of the film. But once we get past that kind of crucial moment in her weekend getaway, if you will, it turns into this kind of surrealistic dreamscape. Coralie does an awesome job at not really explaining the unexplainable and just letting it play out. And it is definitely a film about battling against the male gaze in general, but even more so, it's a film about the women's battle for self-worth and for being appreciated by men, which Jen in this movie is not. And because of that, she's out for revenge. If you have not seen Revenge and you are a fan of The Substance, while they are 2 very different narratives, they both deal with the plight of a woman who is looked down upon in society for whatever reason. What do you know, another horror movie. At least it's a horror comedy. My number 7 is Jennifer's Body from 2009, directed by Karen Kusama. Now, this is a film that was written by Diablo Cody, another woman. So you really have 2 women kind of leading the charge here. And then you have a performance from Megan Fox in this movie that to this day is the best performance of her career, and absolutely hammed up, sexy, scary, nightmarish, campy, good time. And Megan Fox buys in 1000% to this role and absolutely knocks it out of the park. Like I said, the best performance of her career by far. Her best friend, Needy, is played by Amanda Seyfried, and that is no mistake that her name or nickname in the film is Needy. But this is another movie that deals with the undead or zombie or possession in a very unique and innovative way. I love how much fun the movie is while still being extremely brutal, bloody, and gory. It has hints of old school horror films like from the George Romero catalog or Night of the Creeps. It has that style, but a modernized version with better special effects, and like the performances I already talked about are super heightened as well. This is a killer film about a cheerleader who essentially turns into a monster that wants to eat boys. That's what the film is, and I fucking love this thing, man. I'll come down from my horror cloud for just a minute to give you my number 6, which would be my representation on this list from Sofia Coppola, and it's Lost in Translation from 2003. This is one of the early roles that Bill Murray took on in that kind of dramatic space. Got him Academy Award recognition, and his name was being mentioned all award season for this role, as was Sofia Coppola, as was Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson was 18 years old when they filmed Lost in Translation, and she gives such a quiet, tender, subdued, beautiful, almost tragic performance in this film that you can't fathom that she's 18 when she did it. It's like she is acting with decades of life experience from what she's going through in the movie, emotionally, but also like being that young and the naivety involved. And maybe that was actually how Scarlett Johansson was in real life, and it wasn't a stretch. The film is shot so amazingly brilliant. Honestly, this is probably my favorite Sofia Coppola film just because of the way it looks. It is so intimate and so like grandiose at the same time. And that's such a hard thing to really capture as a filmmaker, to suck in an audience member like that, to where you feel like you're right there, but you also feel like you're so far away. At my number 5 is a film from our current like front runner status for like popularity among female directors, and that's of course Greta Gerwig. And I'm going to put 2017's Lady Bird at my number 5. I mean, whenever Saoirse Ronan is the star of your film, you're off to a great start. And as Lady Bird, the titular character in this film, she absolutely blew me away. Just an amazing coming-of-age film and an amazing performance at the center of it. Laurie Metcalf playing her mother, who received a supporting actress nomination for this film, and deservedly so, is so good as the like overbearing, overprotective helicopter parent mother in the film, and they're kind of like butting heads the whole time. Is something that anybody can relate to, whether they're a kid or a mom or parents. And I did. I love that relationship and the way it was depicted in this movie. And then, of course, Timmy's in this movie. Timothée Chalamet, my guy. This is a video about women, so I won't go down my Timmy rabbit hole too far, but I will just say that I love he did something different in this movie, and he was kind of the like popular jerk guy. Very like preppy and stuck up and kind of unaware of what's going on around him because he's too caught up in himself. And Timmy's the best, man. He killed this role just like he does every other role. You know, I thought about putting Barbie here as my Gerwig representation. Honestly, if I could sit down right now and watch any Gerwig film, it would definitely be Lady Bird, as I love the coming of age genre in general. And this is one of the better ones to come out in the last 10 years. So my top 4 films that I'm about to give you are all 5-star films for me on Letterboxd, which would essentially be a 10 out of 10 based on my rating system here on my channel. They're all perfect, in my opinion. I would rewatch them every year for the rest of my life. Number 4, to start us on that train, I mean, I didn't know what to put where, but on this video as I'm recording, my number 4 is Portrait of a Lady on Fire from Celine Sciamma. This is one of the most affecting films on this list, where it just affected me so much. And being so detached from the source material, as this is a film that takes place, I think, in the 1730s or something, I can't remember specifically, but our 2 lead women in the film basically develop a romantic relationship over the course of several weeks on this kind of secluded island. And it's because they understand each other, and it's because they see each other. Kind of an unspoken bond and connection between them that you feel heavily when you're watching the film. And from a craft perspective, we're talking about Sciamma and my favorite female directors. This film is shot like Citizen Kane Gone with the Wind type shit. I mean, this is like some of the best establishing shots, production design, the cinematography of the different rolling hills and cliffs and mountainsides. I mean, it's like so beautiful and so enrapturing as a film fan if you love the craft of filmmaking. And when we get to the end of this film, you know, I've mentioned the ending of a couple of these movies already. This one is so is like a heartbreak playing out in real time. The way the camera cuts between and does a slow close-up on their faces. And when I say a slow close-up, I mean, honestly, it's a tracking shot that I want to say the scene plays out over like 5 minutes. I mean, it's like a long, drawn-out duration tracking shot to where you are forced to take in the sadness and the kind of outcome that's playing out that's unavoidable. Let's have a little fun with my number 3. You guys are going to be like, oh, a dude put this on his list. Of course. My number 3 is going to take us all the way back to 1991, and it's going to be Point Break from Oscar-winning director Catherine Bigelow. Man, this movie, don't watch the remake, by the way. They did a remake like 5 years ago. What a piece of shit that was. But the original from 91, starring Patrick Swayze, rest in peace, and Keanu Reeves, of course. You also have Lori Petty, and I'm at number 10. I didn't think I was going to have 2 Lori Petty showings on this list, but there you go. But essentially, this is a action movie about these bank robbers led by Patrick Swayze that are all surfers in the Southern California area, and Keanu Reeves and Gary Busey have been tasked with finding out who the bank robbers are. And while that's happening, Keanu Reeves is striking up a friendship with Swayze and that group that he hangs out with. And as the movie goes along, we discover, and Keanu discovers, that the friends that he's been making to kind of get in with the surf crowd are the robbers that he's looking for. There's a chase scene in this movie that I swear by to this day is one of the best chase scenes in cinematic history. And it's a on-foot chase. Keanu Reeves is chasing down Reagan, which is Swayze in The Mask, after they rob a bank. And it's a one shot where Catherine Bigelow, I don't even know how she did it, is following them in a car or what, on a track, I don't know. But they're running through the streets of LA. They run down this like alleyway, like gutter under the bridge. Keanu falls and twists his ankle, so he can't continue the pursuit. That actually happened in real life while they were filming it, and I read that production stopped for like a week because he had to heal his ankle. They run through people's houses and knock their dogs out of the way. I mean, it's like a crazy chase scene. It is honestly so exhilarating, and like I said, one of the best chase scenes I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite action movies. It's one of my favorite 90s movies, and it's Catherine Bigelow at the start of a career that was going to be super illustrious, and like I said, Oscar winning. So I had to put it on here. I just love this movie so much. Again, the rewatchability is 1,000% on this one. Point Break. My number 2 holds a special place in my heart, not only because it's directed by one of my favorite modern female directors, but also because it's the first movie that I went back to the theater, in a movie theater, to see during the whole COVID pandemic kind of shutdown. So I was in the restaurant business at the time, back in 2020, and I can remember in basically March of 2020, all the way through like early December, like 6 months, nobody was doing anything. Movie theaters were shut down. If you got takeout or groceries, you had to go to the curbside spot and people bring it out to you with masks on. I mean, it was like we just couldn't exist the way that we want to, especially as movie lovers. Well, when theaters started to open back up, and they had that whole rule of like, 2 seats between you and whatever, but they did open back up. The first movie I went back to see in December of 2020 was Emerald Fennell's Promising Young Woman. Now, I don't know if it was because of the situation where I had just missed being in a theater for 6 months, or if that aided in it in any way, but holy shit, that was the experience of a lifetime for me. Now, prior to this, Emerald Fennell had been predominantly an actress, a British actress. This was her first feature directorial debut. I know she had done some short films or TV direction, but never a feature-length film. And I cannot believe how this movie just entertained me. It was important. It was a very similar story to kind of what I was alluding to earlier with Coralie Farjah's Revenge, where the main female character is kind of battling against the discrimination that she feels basically just because she's a woman, and the male gaze, and how women are viewed from a male-dominated society. And that narrative permeates through this entire film. And Carey Mulligan's Cassandra in the film, who got nominated for an Academy Award this year, Emerald Fennell won the Academy Award for Screenplay this year. But she kind of takes it upon herself to be a bit of a justice vigilante for womanhood. But because of that, she's a bit of a broken character too, who has walls around her, who won't allow herself to connect to anyone, especially males. And there's a storyline in the movie featuring Bo Burnham, who I love too, and he had a great supporting role in this. One of the fucking best needle drops I've ever heard in my life is in this movie from Paris Hilton, of all people, in a convenience store. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Loved Carey Mulligan in this. Loved Emerald Fennell's direction. I was also a huge defender of Saltburn last year. I don't give a fuck what you guys say. I love that movie too. But for representation for Fennell on my list, I was literally levitating when I went to see this in the theater, partly because it's been 6 months since I was able to be to theater. But I mean, for this to be the movie I saw when I went back was just a triumphant championship win for me. It's my number 2. And number 1 for me has to be the only one on this list that would fall in probably my top 20 or so of all time. And it's Mary Harron's version of American Psycho from 2000. Of course, starring Christian Bale in the lead role of Patrick Bateman. This is a satirical kind of horror comedy that is so biting and has such on the surface messaging. It also, like a lot of the other films that I've been mentioning on this list, which I didn't even realize until I started talking about them, but it also has that surrealistic element to it, where is this real? Is this in his mind? Is he fucking crazy? Did that happen? Did he do that? Did she say that? Now, I know it's based on a book. I know if I wanted to, I could probably find out what's what. There's some of the most memorable and iconic, in my opinion, scenes in this film, particularly the one with Jared Leto. Not saying I want to see Jared Leto killed with an axe, but if you do want to see that, it's in this movie. And it's all to the soundtrack of Huey Lewis and the News. So you can't really get much better than that, honestly. Aside from Jared Leto, there's some great kind of bit supporting parts in here from Willem Dafoe, Reese Witherspoon, who I freaking love. Chloe Sevigny plays his secretary. This is a great movie with a great female eye behind the camera. And like I said, this movie is actually in my top 20 of all time across any genre from any directors. I rewatch this constantly, and like I said, it holds up every single time. I know they're talking about doing a remake of it with Austin Butler, I believe, in the lead role. I'm all about it. You know, Luca Guadagnino is in talks to direct it, so of course I'm there for it. I just hope that it's different. I don't want him to do the same POV and the same surreal kind of like, what am I watching angle that Mary Harron took in the film. And, you know, I don't know if that's straight from the book, because like I said, I didn't read the book. But if Luca does something different, if Butler brings something different to it, then let's do it. I mean, you know, I'm all about it. Now, the sequels are laughably horrible, but American Psycho from 2000 is one of the greatest movies in my catalog of all time, period. I love it so much. It's my number 1 film directed by a woman. There you go. Happy International Women's Month, the month of March. Now, this video is probably not going to come out till the middle of the month-ish. So, sorry I'm late, but women, I love you. You know that. This video is dedicated to all those great women directors out there. And I hope the Oscars and award season keep mentioning women, more women, more. You know how, what if we had like an all women director lineup one year? How fucking great would that be? I would charge the Academy and just take them chocolates and flowers and like, I mean, these women are doing some really innovative things behind the camera. As you can see with my eclectic choices on this list, even the honorable mentions, they're not like generic, basic, biopic, normal, flat stories. They're very important for the most part, and they're very kind of out there and off the wall, and I love that. I love that those all happen to be directed by women, and I think that they bring something very special to the creation of this art that we love so much, which is the movies. So what did I forget? What is your favorite movie directed by a woman that I did not mention on this video? Just to remind you, I only picked 1 film per director. So had I not done that, you know, The Substance probably would have been on here. Barbie would have probably been on here. There would have been some other films on here from Sofia Coppola. Like, you know, I mean, I was trying to spread the love around a little bit. But that's my 10. Let me know what I forgot down in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning into this video. I'll be back soon with another countdown or movie review or something for you. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time in the garage.